Hello, welcome to my little corner of the internet where I talk about things that I like and things that I'm learning. So, I'm Dakshni and I like to read a lot. As you can see, I've stacked up a lot of books here. And apart from that, I like makeup, skincare, and I like to experiment with a lot of things. And most importantly, I like to talk about everything that I explore. And if you like listening to someone talk a lot, then this is your space. And thank you for spending this time with me. I'm not going to bore you with more details. Let's just talk about what we're here for today. So I decided to make a video about every book that I read in 2025, like a reading wrap up. So yeah, let's talk about it. I have some books physically present here, and other books I read it as a e-copy. So I'll just add a link to the book or a picture of it. So without any more info, like let's just get into the video, okay? Okay, so the very first book that I'm going to talk about is The Mountain Is You by Brianna West. So before I talk about this, நான் ஒரு விஷயம் சொல்லிடுறேன். இந்த புக்ஸ் நான் எந்த பர்டிகுலர் ஆர்டர்லையும் எடுத்து பேசலை. நான் ஒரு ரேண்டமாக நான் படித்த ஆர்டர்லேருந்து ஐம் ஜஸ்ட் கோயிங் டு டாக் அபவுட் இட். புக் வந்துட்டு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா இட்ஸ் அ நான் ஃபிக்ஷன் அண்ட் ஐ ஆக்சுவலி லவ்ட் திஸ் புக் பிகாஸ் நான் வந்துட்டு அவ்வளோ நான் ஃபிக்ஷன்ஸ் படிக்க மாட்டேன். பட் திஸ் இஸ் லைக் ஒன் ஆஃப் த வெரி ஃபியூ நான் ஃபிக்ஷன்ஸ் தட் ஐ ரெட் இன் த past couple of years, but this was amazing, super niche. I'll give you a gist of like what this book is about. So in the book vandittu it talks about our self-sabotaging limiting beliefs that we have. We have these beliefs na, it is just our mind and body's way of trying to protect us from anything that is threatening to us, anything that causes stress to us. வந்துட்டு they talk about not handling our problems, but நம்ம ப்ராப்ளம்ஸ் ஏன் நம்ம ஹேண்டில் பண்ணுறதுக்கான கட்ஸோ இல்லை ஒரு கரேஜோ நம்மளுக்கு பல நேரங்கள் இருக்க மாட்டேங்குது. why do we run away from our problemsன்றதை வந்துட்டு this book conquer. I'll give you an example of like two things that stood out to me, okay? For example, there was this one chapter in this book that gives us an example of how we run away from things that we deep down want. Let's say a guy wants to earn money. His core desire is like revolving around money. In the pursuit of money, நம்ம நிறைய இடத்துல வந்துட்டு we are bound to fail and நிறைய விஷயங்கள் will not work out for us. So what happens is whenever we fail, right, our we feel threatened and there is some level of stress. அது ஃபிசிக்கல் ஸ்ட்ரெஸ்ஸோ மென்டல் ஸ்ட்ரெஸ்ஸோ நம்ம பாடியை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் இட்ஸ் அ ஸ்ட்ரெஸ் அண்ட் தட் த்ரெட்டன்ஸ் ஆர் சான்சஸ் ஆஃப் சர்வைவல். ஸோ வாட் ஹேப்பன்ஸ் இஸ் அவர் பிரெயின் இஸ் வெரி குட் அட் ஒன் திங் விச் இஸ் பிக்கிங் பேட்டர்ன்ஸ். நம்ம எப்போல்லாம் வந்துட்டு தேர் இஸ் like someone who's very well off, earns a lot of money or rich, and they make some mistake or we see something wrong with them, there's some bad news about them, நம்ம mind automatically it starts picking patterns whereby rich people are bad னு ஒரு narrative நம்ம ஹெட்ல வந்துட்டு கிரியேட் ஆயிரும். இன்ஹெரண்டா வந்துட்டு இது வந்துட்டு நம்மளுக்கு ஒரு லிமிட்டிங் பிலீஃப் தான் which our brain and body is just trying to do to protect us. As a result என்ன ஆகும்னா we'll never actually attain our core desire or core need, which is money. So இது வந்துட்டு ஒரு சின்ன செல்ஃப் லிமிட்டிங் பிலீஃப். ஒன்ஸ் we are more aware of this, we can work through it. We can work through it. ஸோ இந்த மாதிரி இந்த புக்கில் வந்துட்டு சின்னதாக நிறையா விஷயங்கள் எப்படி நம்மளே வந்துட்டு நம்மளுக்கு வேணுன்ற விஷயத்துலேருந்து we go against it just to protect us அப்படின்றது வந்துட்டு நல்லா காமிச்சிருப்பாங்க. There's this other chapter that distinguishes between the voice of ego versus the voice of intuition. Voice of intuition வந்துட்டு it's a very calm, grounding, all knowing, very silent voice. It's very self assured. But ஆனால் வந்துட்டு whereas நம்மளோட intrusive thoughts வந்துட்டு it triggers a lot of panic. நம்ம வந்துட்டு irritate ஆகும், பேனிக் ஆகும். ஸோ ஆல் தோஸ் தாட்ஸ் ஆர் வெரி லவுட், நம்மளோட நெகட்டிவ் இன்ட்ரூசிவ் தாட்ஸ்னு. அண்ட் மோர் ஆஃபன் than நாட் நம்மளோட இன்ட்ரூசிவ் தாட்ஸ் தே டேக் ஓவர். அண்ட் நம்ம இப்படின்னு ஒரு தாட்க்கு வந்துட்டு கொஞ்சம் அட்டென்ஷன் கொடுத்தோன்னா இட் என்டையர்லி டேக்ஸ் ஓவர் லைக் our whole nervous system. So it helps us distinguish between these two voices and how we can learn how to listen more to our intuition. So bookla nariya in the mari they have like small snippets of information. Say this is so worth reading. Like if you're someone who enjoys reading non-fictions, this is a must pick for you. The next book that I wanted to talk about is Men Without Women by Haruki Murakami. So this is not my first Murakami. I think the very first Murakami that I picked was Norwegian Wood, and after that I picked Kafka on the Shore. This was my third Murakami. First time நான் ஒரு Murakami book படிக்கிறப்ப I'll give you a short rewind of how I feel about Murakami, because I have a very complicated relationship with Murakami and his books. ஸோ நான் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் டைம் நார்வேஜியன் வுட் வந்துட்டு 2021 படித்தேன். அப்போது நான் இதை படிக்கிறப்போ ஐ ஹேட் அ லாட் ஆஃப் எக்ஸ்பெக்டேஷன்ஸ். ஆனால் படித்த அப்புறம் வந்துட்டு ஐ குடன்ட் அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட் த ஹைப். ஐ குடன்ட் அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட் வாட் ஐம் சப்போஸ் டு ஃபீல் இட். பட் ஆனால் இட் லெஃப்ட் மீ வித் ஸ்ட்ரேஞ்ச் ஃபீலிங் ஆஃப் sadness plus void, and I kept going back to that book again and again, like on the book lurkus china china quotes and all of that. And then I decided to read Kafka on the Shore again. When I read Kafka on the Shore, I realized that I should have started with Kafka on the Shore. It's more it gives you a proper idea of what Murakami's books are about. I'm not going to talk about those books in this video, but I'm just giving you like an idea of like what it feels to read Murakami, at least for me. Like I just keep going back to his books and I still cannot articulate so as to why I love his book so much. But yeah, back to the book. Men Without Women by Haruki Murakami is it's a collection of short stories, like 6 or 7 short stories that talks about men from a male perspective, like different men and their relations with a woman, as in like with different women. Each story talks about a man who has like who meets a woman, and the nature of their relationship is different in each story, and each story talks about a very different scenario. But yet in a very strange way, all these women create a very strong impact on these men, though they can't again properly explain what kind of an impact. I wouldn't say it's a necessarily good one, but it's a very strong impact. And in the book la until last story, it's called I think I don't remember the story's name, but ஆனா நீங்க வந்துட்டு Franz Kafkaோட Metamorphosis படிச்சு, and if you liked it, you have a very great surprise waiting for you. The last story is a sort of a sequel or maybe a different alternate world or a POV மாதிரி இருக்கும் of Metamorphosis, and it's quite interesting. Like you should really pick this up. In the book வந்துட்டு I would definitely suggest you pick up, and if you're going through a major reading slump, this book would get you out of it. It's very interesting, it's very short to read. You can just read it in one sitting, but it's very good, very good. So the next book that I wanted to talk about is Memoirs of Geisha by Arthur Golden. So this book talks about the life of a geisha. It's a fictional memoir or a biography of a geisha named Nita Sayuri. So geishas are dancer women. They are artists who in the very early times of Japan. I can't recall around which time this happened, but in the very early times of Japan. I usually take a book during every road trip of mine. I recently took this to one such trip, and I forgot everything else around me. I thoroughly enjoyed this. Mentally took me to Japan during the time of geishas. This talks about her life, how she turns into a geisha and her life struggles and all that. It talks about uh, geisha struggles apart from like all the fancy parties, the makeup, and the luxurious lifestyle. There is a gray area to their life which talks about lessons on love, lust, grief. It talks about power dynamics. It talks about how women try to survive in the world that was built for a man, and all of that. This was so good. I really loved it. It looks like a big book, but trust me, you can't put it down. This is I would suggest, like, if you like reading like biographies, you can go for it. If you like reading fiction with very interesting narratives from one person's point of view, like it takes you through the each and every day of what her life is about, how she perceives very humanly emotions, how she observes people around her, and how she learns everything. This If you like such narratives, this is so 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 good. I would suggest you pick it up. The next book that I wanted to talk about is Paulo Coelho's Adultery. This author is very famous for one of his books called The Alchemist. It's obviously like really, really, really good, but I'm not going to talk about that book. I've always loved this writer because his books have, revolves around the concept of faith and manifestation, like all the time. They have a very spiritual touch to them, but it doesn't involve God, but it's very spiritual. You get it right. So I've read Alchemist and I've read 11 Minutes. I think 11 Minutes was also equally great. But this book felt more like the author was, experimenting. The writer was experimenting writing styles, because I'll give you a gist of what this book is about. This book talks about a woman in a proper utopian life. That is, she has everything she's ever wanted in her life, but still she's not happy. And she's going through this crisis where she can't figure out why she's so miserable, though she has everything she's ever wanted in life. And she ends up having an affair. She ends up having an affair with her, uh, you know ex from school, high school. And he is also in an equal level of power and authority in the same place that she lives in. And this book is not at all about the affair. Trust me, it's not about the affair. It's more like a very chaotic, raw, clean journal of, this person. Imagine she had a journal and she wrote unfiltered. She wrote every night unfiltered in it. That's what this book is about. It has no linear narrative, and it's just so chaotic, and it has this very nihilistic and cynical flavor to it. Imagine handling spirituality, but not from the concept of hope and faith, but from a very cynical, very nihilistic point of view. That's what this woman goes through. And you're left feeling very confused. This is a very strange read altogether. I couldn't form a proper opinion so as to whether I like it or not, but this definitely was a very thought provoking read, because when I completed this book, I realized that I don't have enough life experiences, and I don't think I have enough experience to understand the internal crisis that this protagonist went through. But if you like reading very strange books, and if you are in this experimental phase where you want to read, expand your reading style and subjects, then it's a great book to pick. Let me take a water break before I talk any further, because your girl's thirsty. In case you're wondering, there's a mug here. It's just a prop. It has no coffee, no water, nothing in it. This is my water bottle. So let me take a quick water break, and I'll be back and we'll talk about the rest of the books. Next book that I wanted to talk about is Normal People by Sally Rooney. I don't have a physical copy of this book. I actually borrowed it from a friend. Actually, I wish I had a physical copy of my own when it comes to this book, because it was so good. I mean, don't mind me saying every book I read is so good. Like, most of the books I read this year were like really good. This book was like, I would put it in top three spots. It was that good. So this book is supposedly a romance genre, but it's not actually your typical romance. It explores and delves deeper into the relationship of two people. I read it somewhere in the first half of the year, so I don't remember their names. But like in the internet, there is this meme circulating that says 500 Days of Summer is this horror movie, right? In my opinion, 500 Days of Summer is not the real horror movie. Normal People is the real horror book, or like horror series. It haunts you so much even after while you're reading it, and even after we've completed the book. Every time you think about the book, it actually haunts you. The male protagonist, he struggles with people pleasing tendencies, and self betrayal, and pretending to be someone he's not. And he's constantly struggling throughout the book. You can see him struggling. And the female protagonist, on the other hand, she struggles socially, and she internalizes a lot of emotions, and she's not that good with communication. So imagine these two people get together. They know each other right from very early on in life, and you can see that they're constantly in the same space, but their relationship is not a very linear. They like each other, they got together. No, it's not that. It doesn't work that way. You can't conclude if they're friends, or if they are involved romantic styles, or like, you just cannot understand the nature of their relationship. But they have this very deep bond. They just get each other. In a room full of people, they just get each other without much explanation or much communication, and it haunts you. It really, really, really haunts you. Like, for example, I'll give you a quote that stood with me from this book. So the male protagonist tells the female protagonist, he tells her, I don't believe in God, but sometimes I think God made you for me. The irony, and the com you know the this is how the whole book is. Like, you just you just hate these people for doing this to you. Everyone who reads it, I think, feels this. But yeah, it was actually a great read. But if you're not looking for something very dense in romance, if you like light-hearted romance, this book is not for you. But if you're looking for something very emotionally complex, knotted, and like it sort of leaves you confused and questioning modern relationships, this is a good read. I would suggest it to anyone, but I'm just giving you a disclaimer. This is not the typical kind of romance you're expecting. This is again a book. It's not a novel. It's a poetry collection. It's a very short read, but again, it's very dense. It's emotionally very dense. This is Teaching My Mother How to Give Birth by Warsan Shire. I've actually read some of her pieces in Pinterest, and I actually love them so much that I write it down in my journal. This is the first time I picked one of her poetry collections, and you know what? I don't think I knew what I was getting myself into. It was actually very, very, very dense. This book, this poetry collection has, I think, about 20 pieces of like poems, and each one explores. Um, it talks about abuse that women go through, womanhood, and she talks about womanhood, like the phase of like going through womanhood, like becoming a woman is how it's thrusted upon women, and how women suffer silently through like the uncomfortable scenarios of like womanhood. I don't have much words to explain this, but it's tender, yet it's very, it's very horrifying. Like, you should read it. I won't say this was like my favorite, but I don't think I was emotionally, equipped with what these 20 poems required from me. It was so deep. I'm not going to read out any pieces to you. I think if you really like poetry, yeah, it also has a lot of politics involved. Like everything is politics, but you have to you have to read it to understand like what kind of politics it talks about. It even concepts like war, love, but not love in a very tender nature. It talks about love in a very crude sense. It was actually too much. It was actually too much. Love her pieces. She goes all the way, and she doesn't write something that you can just admire and enjoy. She just goes all the way in, and it's very dense. It hits you hard. That's the kind of pieces that she writes. But just, yeah,